But I got so hung up on trying to make the best record I ever made in my life that, you know, I read about Pink Floyd making, you know, The Wall, you know, and how, you know, you just get so engulfed and you can't come out until it's done. So the songs came easy, but perfecting them was, first time in my life I recut songs, re-sang them, rewrote lyrics, went back, changed one word. I don't like that word. It's, you know, it's got to be the instead of the, you know, whatever. I really got hung up, but it was a good hang up. I couldn't wait to get in the studio every day.
Yeah, but you know, that's
instead of the beach.
And I'm sure that takes a little doing for you.
I've been there ever since.
But you know, that kind of begs the question: are you the kind of artist? Because I've talked to artists who kind of go both ways on this. Are you the kind of artist who will labor on a song?
Nope.
You prefer to work quickly?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a one-take wonder.
You know, these people,
I think they know
one-track mind. That's all I can tell you.
No, like normally I get criticized by a lot of producers because I'll go in and I'll do 3 vocal takes because I know my lyrics when I go in. I'm not reading lyrics when I'm in the studio because you got to read them. You got to study your song so when you sing it, you can mean it. You're not reading it. You've got to be telling the story. So I got my stuff together when I walk into the studio, and I walk in. I'll do 3 takes. I'll say, yeah, you know, mix one up.
We're good.
See what we got. You know,
yeah.
You like one better than the other, or mix one, blah blah blah. Like I said, well, just give me one more. I go, why? I'd rather be doing something else.
Going to the beach.
Yeah, but. This time I didn't do that. I tortured myself. We produced it ourselves, and I didn't torture myself. It really wasn't torture for the first time.
Yeah,
that's all.
So you produced this record?
Yeah, with the band.
With the band.
And our producer. I mean our engineer, Jamie.
Yeah. But that also is another level of sort of complication in terms of taking that. I mean, you've worked with some terrific producers.
Yeah, the best.
Over the years. Why take that on? Why take on the producer role?
I honestly didn't feel like trying to explain what was in my head to anyone. So I went in and started doing it myself because I had it in my head. And even Jason Bonham, you know, greatest rock and roll drummer in the world, just like his dad, he kept saying, "Oh, Sam, you know, I don't know, mate. You sure it's a concert? You want to do that?" I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "What's it about?" I said, "Yeah, you know," I was kind of vague because it wasn't done, but I really started feeling, I could see the vision. When you can see light at the end of the tunnel, when you have an idea that you can see to the end of it, and you see the whole picture, it's like, oh no, this is done. It's, you know, you got to go to work to do it.
Yeah.
But I saw that, and I heard it in my head, and I was ready. And, you know, halfway through, everybody started saying, wow, you know, so, yeah, you know, so, I don't know, I'm really happy with it. That's the main thing. I'm satisfied with that record.
You
the first time I've ever had a record that I don't go listen to now and go, ooh, I should have. I could have sang that one more time.
Really, you know? after all this time.
All this time.
Huh.
Including Van Halen, including Montrose. I listened to that first Montrose.
You might actually be like learning something about this rock and roll. You mentioned Jason, and this is a remarkable band. I mean, Jason, Michael Anthony, Vic Johnson. It's incredible. And you've said, I read something where you said you were actually, because you've been touring with these guys for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years.
5 years before we made a studio record.
Before you made a studio record. That you were actually scared to go in and record with these guys. Why?
Well, not with these guys. I just didn't know if I had another classic song. You know, they just, you know, when you just go back and you listen to the history of you know, writing with Eddie Van Halen, writing with Ronnie Montrose, right? Even with Joe Satriani with Chickenfoot, you know, we just bit off a whole thing. We said, no, we're just going to go in and just make a 70s rock record. You know, we're not going to try to be, you know, relevant in any way.
Yeah.
And that was good too. That really worked for me. It did. I loved that band. But this band, we were playing the hits so well. You know, when, like Jason, every drummer I played with, Denny Carmassi from Montrose, he wanted to be John Bonham. Alex Van Halen, he wanted to be John Bonham. And you ask any drummer, Tommy Lee, ask him anything. Who's your favorite drummer of all time? John Bonham. Well, Jason plays just like his dad. Maybe as good now. He's old. You know, he's 20 years older than his dad was when he died.
Yeah.
I'm making that up, but he's definitely he's been doing it a long time, and he's so damn good that we were playing the Montrose songs better than Montrose. We were playing the Van Halen songs as good as Van Halen. I mean, I'm still singing them. Mikey's playing the bass better than that's true. And so I was in love with this band. I'm going, man, I just love this band. I mean, I never heard those songs sound as good because everyone cared so much. Everyone was mature. We're not going on stage drunk and on drugs, man. We're going out there, a little buzz on maybe, but that's just me. But, oh, Mikey, hold on. And we're just really playing them from the right place and with a heart and so good that, yeah, I was maybe nervous to say, man, how are we going to make a record better than this stuff we're playing?
Well, and part of that was, and I read that and Vic, who we'll meet later, you and Vic had an agreement about these songs and about particularly the guitar approach to these songs. That you know, not there wasn't going to be a lot of shredding. There wasn't going to be a lot of showing off.
Right.
Why?
It was a lyrical album. I thought the lyric was really important, and when so a solo had to say kind of the same thing that the lyrics meant, and it's not just noodling and showing how fast you can play. I just thought we've done that so many times. Is all you're going to do is get compared to Joe Satriani or Eddie Van Halen, Vic, if you're on here ripping like that, right? Yeah. So just think about the song, and let's just, if it needs a solo, we'll put one in. But we don't need a solo just for a solo. I wanted like 2.5, 3 minute songs.
Yeah.
Some of them got dragged out to be like 4 minutes and stuff, but it's not what I wanted because I didn't want to have these big long things. I wanted to get to the point, get you on to the next thing, the next chapter, the next chapter, the next chapter. And long solos can distract what I was trying to say lyrically. And it was kind of selfish, but Vic was happy. Vic played some of the greatest guitars, little licks and solos and rhythm parts, and his tone. Vic Johnson is the most underrated guitar player in rock.
But again, it's working. It's kind of working within limitations, if you will. That brings that creativity. One of the things you also talked about was for instance, when you went in and worked with Chickenfoot, you didn't necessarily. I mean, you knew these guys, but you didn't necessarily know them musically and how far you might be able to engage them or push them. This is a band you've been touring with for 5 years. You have a very good sense of kind of what buttons to push with these guys. How did you do that? Did you push this band?
Not really. I didn't have to. I mean, I asked for, parts to be a little better once in a while. Like we're such a good jam band. We can walk out. I mean, the Circle. Anyone that's seen this band, we rehearsed 3 days. And we went out on tour. And we made a live album. And thank you. Everyone's so damn good at their craft that it's like you just say, well, let's play that song. In the dressing room backstage, we go, okay. And we work it out and walk out on stage for 10,000 people. And we play it, and it's good. It's really good. So on the record, I didn't want to do that. I said, no, let's grind this down and make sure that every note is right and every beat is right. And Jason, more than anyone, because he's never really made a lot of records. He's made a few records, but he plays with did that Led Zeppelin reunion and stuff, but he never made a record with Led Zeppelin, And he really wanted to make a great record. And he was a really big inspiration to me, being a lot younger than me, that he was, trying to bring in fresh ideas. What if you did this? What if we did that? I'd say, let's try it. And I was just really open-minded.
So you were open to whatever feedback was coming back from the guys.
Yeah, because I respect them so much. Yeah. I mean, I respect a lot of musicians I play with. Don't get me wrong, but I was so much more open-minded because, like Jason, I wanted to make the best record of my career. Yeah.
And there were a couple of performances on the record that you have called out in the course of promoting the record. One of which is Michael's bass part on Trust Fund Baby. Yeah. Tell me about why does that stand out to you?
Michael Anthony is so good, and he's not only the greatest backup singer, because he sings lead too, but he's got a strange voice, but it's so good for harmony. You know he does, when he sings lead, he sounds like he's on helium. But he's so good to go above you in the way he sings. But in Van Halen, Eddie was such a busy guitar player, one of the greatest guitar players ever, but he was really busy, so it was hard for the bass couldn't be busy. So Mikey was always going boom, 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 and Eddie would be going and you know, Mikey he couldn't ever.
Hard to compete with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the simplicity of a song like Trust Fund Baby, which is riff oriented, Mikey just killed, well, every song on the record, Mikey just killed it on bass, but that song in particular, every time I hear him, when he comes in with me, it's just like on the guitar, we play the riff together first, and then he goes off. He fills up every great hole that was there. He didn't step on nobody, but I just love the way he played bass on that song. I love the way he plays bass, period.
Yeah,
He's
and
aggressive.
that song's a little bit of a throwback to Montrose.
Totally a throwback.
I mean,
to
there's a lick from the
I Got the Fire.
I Got the Fire
From the Paper Money record.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So you don't mind quoting yourself?
well, let me tell you why I did that. I wanted to make I wanted to touch, because the circle, because we touch on my whole career, from Montrose to Van Halen to solo to Chickenfoot, we try to touch on all this stuff. So I tried to make our first record touch on all this stuff. So when I wrote that riff, which was Jason's idea, he came up, he was singing some other riff, and I went, oh, that's kind of like I Got the Fire. And then I changed it. But then I said, you know what, I'm going to give Ronnie co-writer on this, because on I Got the Fire, for people that probably heard this story once or twice, because I've been talking about it a little bit on this record, Ronnie and I wrote, Ronnie wrote this guitar riff, and I sang the lyrics, you know, I said, and Ronnie didn't give me co-writer on that. And him and I were the co-writers in the band, but we weren't getting along then, so he didn't put my name on the record. And I said, well, hey man, whoa, man, I wrote the lyrics and the melody to that song. What do you mean? Well, you know, they messed up. I said, oh, who messed up? The record company messed up. I'm a brand new guy. I go, well, maybe they messed up. So then when the paycheck came, I didn't get paid either, so, for the publishing or the songwriting. So I brought it up, and he said, all you care about is the money, and he fired me. That wasn't the truth. He was trying to get rid of me, just like, you know, I get fired a lot. I can't. So he was trying to...
You're such a nice guy.
I think I am. I'm naive sometimes, you know? And so I got thrown out of the band for trying to get my songwriting. So when I wrote that song, first thing out of my head was, hey, right? Yeah. Ronnie, he ripped me off, so I'm going to rip a little bit of that riff off, and I'm not going to do anything. But then my heart got in the way, and I gave his estate co-writer on that song for using half of a riff. But anyway, I just thought I should do the right thing about it. But I knew what I was doing. I knew it was the part of the I Got the Fire. It wasn't like I was trying to fool him. You know?
Yeah.
Cheers.
The track Can't Hang. There's a good backstory.
Oh, Can't Hang, yeah.
To that track.
Yeah, you know all this.
I do. I know. I'm stupid for this stuff. So give me a little of the backstory of that track.
Well, I wanted to bring Led Zeppelin, Jason's influence.
Yes.
You know, there was your Montrose influence there. I wanted to bring Jason's influence, Led Zeppelin, into the album. So in the circle, we play the song When the Levee Breaks, and Jason has his dad's original drum track, and we play it through the PA. And
first of all, can I
Jason
just stop you
plays
there?
to it.
How cool is that?
How cool is that? I mean, goosebumps. Look, here they are.
Yeah. I just go back. Honestly,
can't believe it. It's
I
so
just go
heavy.
back to there was a documentary film called "It Might Get Loud."
Yeah.
With Jimmy Page and Jack White and The Edge, and Jimmy Page went back to the castle or whatever the house was where they did that, and he walked through the lobby where they had Bonham's drums and where they got that sound for When the Levee Breaks.
Alex Van Halen his whole life wanted that sound. Denny Carmassi wanted that sound. Everybody wanted that sound and that beat. And so I said to Jason, give me that drum track. Not give it to me, but let me use it at the studio.
Yeah.
And I wrote a song to it. I jammed with Jason's dad for 12 hours. And I played this riff. It's called Can't Hang. And then I had to speed it up a little bit because it was too slow. and then so we sped his dad's track up, and so I finished the whole record without Jason. And Jason, I mean, he got so emotional. He just said, "Oh, mate, you gotta let me have a shot," you know. And I said, but he was on tour and with his other band, with the Jason Bonham Experience, and that's JBLZ Experience. And he said, "I'll do it on my day off." On Father's Day, on his day off, he went to a studio in Chicago, and he took the track and he put the drums on it. It's phenomenal. I mean, his dad, he channeled his dad, and it was on Father's Day, and everything about it was just so cool. So I took the levee breaks, we took the drums out, and used Jason's drums, and it's as good as it gets. You know, no comparison to nothing. It's freaking good.
It's fantastic. So, you know, we've been talking about your band members, and you've been, God knows, you've been in bands, you've done your own thing. Music is as an art form is so much about collaboration. What makes you a good collaborator?
I'm really quick. Like if you play something for me that gives me goosebumps, I can come quick with something great.
Yeah.
You know, if I get inspired, that was what Eddie Van Halen and I had, more than Ronnie and I, more than even Joe and I. Eddie would play me something that would just make my brain and my emotions just come apart, and I could write almost effortlessly. The song spoke to me. I would come up with a title. I remember once on the When It's Love, I think it was OU812, yeah, When It's Love on the OU812 record. So I was coming down to start the record. Al and Ed picked me up in a car, and they said, "Hey, check this out, something we put together last night." And they played the music, the keyboard part to When It's Love. Just him and Al, just drums. I immediately said, you know, "How do I know when it's love?" It just instantly, it just said it to me. And I just, by the time we got to the studio, I finished the song. It was done. That's, you know, that's other. That's what I bring. If you touch my heart and my emotions, man, I'm like a bang.
You're there. The album, you know, this album, Space Between Closes, personal opinion, my favorite track. Hey Hey, without greed. Why? And it's a very positive. It's a very upbeat song. Why end that way?
Well, I thought it was the last final statement because I talked about this guy messing up and all the trouble he went through with, you know, getting divorced and watching his kids become trust fund babies, losing everything, you know, and coming back with the song before that is Affirmation, where he finally gets to know that, you know, he just look at himself and say, "Wow, I blew it, you know, I just really blew it, you know." And I was greedy, so I just thought you gotta let the thing resolve. You gotta have an ending to the story, otherwise I'd have to write the second record. You know? So I love that song. That song, when I sing it, I get emotional. And we, at the end of the Circle shows, we have 5 new songs in the set, but at the end, when we're all done, 2 hours into this, you know, we're done, thank you, good night, we show the video and play that song over the PA, and the audience starts singing the hey, hey, hey.
It's a great way.
I walk off the stage with goosebumps. I walk off stage feeling so good. It's so warm, it's so healthy, it's so happy to have that kind of an emotion where you know the whole audience gets it, and it's so positive. That's one of the greatest things I think I've done in my whole career, was write that song for that place in the set. We'll probably never play that song live, you know. We'll just play it.
Really?
Yeah, we'll play the record.
Just play the record.
Set, and let the people sing it on their way out, get in their cars, going home, singing, hey, 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 you know.
But I could see doing that with an arena full of people.
Oh, brother,
having a time.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, woo.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to leave the stage. I want to sit there and sing with them till it's over.
And you know, oftentimes I talk to artists about titles, because, you know, a lot of times titles of albums is a window into kind of where the artist was, you know, what they were thinking as they were making the record. Space Between, you alluded a little bit, you know, in terms of finding space in a set list for this stuff, but I suspect that there is a little more to it. Tell me about the title.
Well, the working title the whole time was Hey Hey Without Greed. And I thought, you know, that's the title of this album, period. But to have to wait for the last song to get the title was a little tough. But that isn't why I changed it. Towards the end, I started realizing that it's kind of a political statement, and that I wanted the people to understand that I am not a left person and I am not a right person, because my whole life growing up, you know, you say, oh, you got to stand up for something. You always had to take a stand, you know, and I just think that is so over, that you don't have to take a stand if you don't believe in it. So I don't like what these guys are doing. I don't like what these guys are doing. So I said, I'm just kind of going to sit on the fence and wait until somebody comes along with a political, religious belief that touches my heart and says, I'm going to back that person, and I'll go wherever, you know, if I believe in it. And I don't feel that in life right now. In the political climate, it's ugly out there. Well, I won't get into that, how I feel about it, but I don't like that, and I don't like that, so I'm in the space between. So I just said, I'm just going to name this album Space Between, because that's where my heart is.
Yeah.
It's a sanctuary. It's a safe place. It's where peace is in that space between. That's where peace lies. Two hands reaching out to that space between. That is the answer to me right now. It's not, you got to go this way, you got to go that way. It's in that space between. It's a very sacred, special place. So
did you find that the material from this record fit, you know, within the set list that the Circle has been playing? Because, like you said, you guys are playing, you know, A-level material from across your career, and then you go into Led Zeppelin. You know, it's like, how do you find the appropriate place for this stuff?
Well, so far the audience has been super kind and super responsive. And, you know, the album was really successful relative to a rock record. It went #1 at rock, it went #1 in independent, and it went #1 at actual physical record sales, because my friends are old. That was so exciting to me. So, you know, that many people actually heard the record. So when we played it live, it wasn't like if your record bombed, nobody heard the record. So the song's got a good response. And we made a movie called The Affirmation, Space Between The Affirmation. And Joe Satriani's son Zizi's a film student, and he made a great, like, it's not a documentary, it's a weird movie. It kind of explains it, and it's fun, and it's quirky, and it's heavy.
Where can these folks see it?
Well, I think it's
on YouTube.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't think it's been released yet. Has it been released yet?
On the website? On the website.
I'm going to put it in film festivals next year. I've decided I want to put it in film festivals because it's that special. It's separate from the record, even though it's got the whole record, same length as the record. But we show those videos from the clips from. They're not videos; they're little stories. They're chapters.
Vignettes.
And we show them on the screen while we're playing those new songs, so they get it. Like first time, oh, I know what that song's about, because we show it, you know, graphically. And it's pretty special. I love this movie. I just haven't had a chance. I don't know where it belongs, honestly. I guess film festival. It's a piece of art.
Why not?
So, yeah. So I haven't just put it. I don't want to sell it as a DVD or all that stuff. You know, that's like, seems like that's kind of cheesy. It's better than that. It's you know, go to a movie and see it, or I don't know how to do it, but I want the world to see this movie, and it'll last forever.
Netflix.
If you show this movie 10 years from now, it'll still have meaning. It's that good.
So I want to run the clock back a little bit with you. Tell me about seeing Dick Dale at the Rendezvous.
Oh man!
Tell me how what kind of impact did seeing Dick Dale at, I can only imagine how old you were at that point.
I didn't even have a car. I hitchhiked with my buddy. We hitchhiked down to the Rendezvous, and we hitchhiked to the Armory in Riverside, and to see Dick Dale.
Yeah.
And I just
tell me what seeing that meant to you.
I don't know. I wanted to be a surfer so bad, but I didn't have a car yet. I didn't have a surfboard.
Hard to be a surfer if you don't have a board.
I'm still wearing white jeans. So I really wanted to be a surfer. And he was just the epitome of it. You know, I like the whole surf scene. Is when I first started playing guitar. And I used to love to dance, do all those surf dances, you know, the surfer stomp and all that stuff. And you go to a Dick Dale dance, and I was a greaser. I lived in Riverside, Fontana, California, you know, like lowrider city. And I would go over there and get my surf on and meet girls, and it was just really a scene, and it was such a unique scene. I'm a beach nut. I just love the ocean and the beach, you know, sea, salt, sand, and sex. You know?
Tell me about the first time you remember performing in a band. When was that?
Shortly after that, my buddy got a guitar, and I was just singing. Then my mom finally bought me a guitar, and I learned a song to play for her. Never on Sunday. She was Italian, so she wanted me to learn Never on Sunday. So the guy taught it to me, and I played it for her. And she brought me a
How
guitar.
great is that, by the way? Sammy Hagar playing Never on Sunday.
That was a pretty bad version, but I guess I made it too. So then we started playing surf music, and then I started singing. Then the Beatles and the Stones came around, and he started singing. Can you sing? I'm going, sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there were, I mean, you got serious about music. You wanted to make it your career, but there were years of struggle, working hard. Prior to Montrose, what got you through that time?
I'm so optimistic it's to a fault. I don't ever see a downside, and I just thought there's just no way that I'm not going to make it somehow, you know. And I'd work as hard as I had to work. I'd get in a car and drive 500 miles to audition for to sing in a band for one night. I didn't care. I'd do anything. And I'd carry my guitar and my amp across town to my buddy's house to rehearse. I just was driven. I just couldn't see nothing else. Yeah. Nothing else. Anything else I did, I had jobs, so, you know, paper route, and I even washed dishes. I collected garbage one time, and for 2 months in New York. And I just didn't care. I said, this isn't what I do. No, I play guitar. I'm a singer, but I got to do this because I got to eat.
Yeah.
And,
tell me about meeting Ronnie Montrose. How did you meet him?
I saw Edgar Winter at Winterland when he had a big hit, Frankenstein. And I paid.
Me too, by the way.
I walked in, and I saw Ronnie Montrose in that band, who was like a firecracker, man. He was all over the place. He had this little thing he used to spin and and play guitar, and he just had the sound. He just was so exciting. I thought, oh man, I gotta have a guitar player like that, you know. And I was telling my guitar player, you got to start acting like that. And I was just mainly the singer. So, long story short, the next day I was bragging about it to a guy, and he goes, "Oh, that's Ronnie Montrose. He lives right down, like 2 miles from you." I'm going, "You got to be kidding. You got his phone number? Yeah. You got his address? Well, I know where he lives." I said, "Okay." And I went and knocked on his door. And I
just
said,
knocked on his door?
Yeah. He said he just quit. He said he just quit the band. That was his last show. And I said, "You got to be kidding." So I knocked on the door. I said, "Hey, I heard you need a singer." He said, he's looking at me. He's going, "Yeah, come on in." I walked in with a guitar, sat down and played Make It Last, Bad Motor Scooter, because I just wrote those songs like a week before that. And he said, "You got any lyrics?" And I pulled out a freaking notebook that was in my guitar case. I said, "Yeah, here's Space Station number 5. Here's I Don't Want It. Here's One Thing on My Mind." I had these lyrics that I hadn't written music to yet because I'm just starting to write. And he shook hands and said, "You got a deal? You know any drummers?" I said, "Yeah." That's Denny Carmassian.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
it was a miracle.
Yeah,
I mean
really
you
guys, and you guys
the lottery.
made a couple of really terrific records. And setting aside, the difficulties and kind of how things ended. Tell me about what you learned from Ronnie Montrose.
Oh, I learned how to perform on stage, like not be inhibited. Because Ronnie was a total recluse. He was the most shy guy. He would stand in a room, he'd stand against a wall and just look at people. He was so unsociable. And you cut him loose on stage, he was like, Van Morrison's the same way. He played with Van Morrison. He's just like Van Morrison. He's all shut down, gets on stage and does all this weird stuff, I'm going, wow, man, I gotta, not be embarrassed. It's embarrassing to perform sometimes. It's embarrassing to sing. It's embarrassing to be sitting here right now. But it's you got to just do it. So,
you're doing okay.
We love you,
Ronnie,
Sammy.
I learned really how to say, you know what? I've got people out there. I'm going to entertain them. Number one. Mm-hmm. I learned from other people too, but Ronnie was the first guy that I saw it firsthand. And I learned how to play that style of guitar, which is not like Eddie Van Halen plays, not like Joe Satriani. He's got a hard-bodied Les Paul with a chord into a Marshall stack, and it's pure tone. And I still play the same way. I do not have a cordless, guitar setup because I hear the difference. And I also learned that how to treat band members because he wasn't good at it. And I thought, when I left Montrose, I said, I'm never gonna play in a band. When I got thrown out of Montrose, I said, I'm never gonna play in a band that are not.
This is a recurring
That
theme.
are not. I've said it twice now. But I don't want to play in a band with people I don't like.
Yeah,
And so I friends first that can play.
sure.
And that's kind of my motto, because you got to live with these people.
Yeah, no, you want to play with people that
Yeah.
you're going to spend some time with.
So that was a good lesson for me.
Yeah, so as you said, you get tossed out of Montrose, and you went on. You started a solo career, but it didn't. But that also did not happen instantly. It took, and this is in this day and age, this is a remarkable fact that it took until your 6th solo album, which was Standing Hampton, for you to really hit, in a significant way. I don't believe that any artist gets 6 albums these days.
Not these
to do
days.
that.
No,
That
no,
won't
no.
happen.
That was
That-
a
that-
very
that
lucky
said-
thing for me. Yeah.
That said, why was that album different? What made that album different?
Well, I became addicted to going on tour and playing in front of people. I didn't even care about making records after Montrose. We toured, and I saw how we kept getting bigger and bigger, and then pretty soon we were a headliner in some places, and it was from going back again and again. So I said, that's the way to do it. So I didn't know anything about a hit record. I didn't want a hit record. The music that was top 40 back then wasn't my style. It was like very, very soft music. And my manager said, well, you can't get a hit with that kind of music. I go, well, I don't want a hit then. I'm just going to go tour. So, Humble Pie were my heroes.
God bless them.
Yeah.
One of the most underrated bands ever.
Great
Humble
live
Pie.
band. They were so good live.
Oh.
But so I opened for them again and again and again. So I went on tour, came home, made a record, went back out on tour. I just say, I got 12 songs to run and make the record as quick as I could and go right back on tour. And I was getting somewhere, same thing. I was starting to sell more records, but I never broke. Well, David Geffen started the label, and he signed John Lennon, Elton John, and Donna Summer, and me. And he said,
That's pretty good company.
no, it was unbelievable. I was so honored.
Yeah.
And he just said, man, you're over there making these lousy records. Just don't he was pretty cold-blooded.
Brutally truthful, yes.
But he did. He said, no, you got to take your time. So they gave me 10 times what I was getting from Capitol Records for my record. They gave me $1 million, right? And said, here's $1 million. I'm like going, wow, I did never even dream that. And I was broke, basically. I wasn't broke, but I was, living by tour to tour.
Yeah.
And he said, here's $1 million. Go away as long as you need and write me some great songs. So I wrote 26 songs. John Claude was the A&R guy, and he kept listening. There's a good one, Fall in Love Again. We like that one. Oh, yeah, like that one, Way to Rock. Yeah, that's good. And I wrote all these songs, and they said, okay, let's make a record. They gave me Keith Olsen, top producer.
Top producer.
And we made a record that went gold and went platinum. And then I've had, ever since, gold and platinum records. But I learned, I said, oh no, I got to get down and write some good songs and take my time. And I learned from that. And that was David Geffen and John Collider. And they taught me a real lesson. My manager was trying to teach me that all the time, but I wouldn't listen to it.
That was back in the days when artist development and career development were actually important.
A&R. He was an A&R, artist relationships and artist development. Man.
Yeah. Not to sound like two cranky old
developed me.
guys on stage, but the music business is a different place. That said, we're running down on time, but I have to get to this. In 1985, you joined Van Halen. Around that time, you said something about your career at that point that I found fascinating. You said it might have become a little too sophisticated. That what you were doing is a little too sophisticated. What does that mean?
Well, it means I was getting rich and famous. And I was
Comfortable.
I was digging it. I had worked my whole life, from 1970, well, before that, but in band from 72 to 85. I had been on tour, making records, took a couple vacations, but not much. And I was saying, I'm going to take a big, long break. And I shaved my hair off, I'm always big, long mane. And I shaved my hair off, and come home from tour, and the next day I get a call from Eddie Van Halen. It was like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. But it's what I was doing. I was thinking about wearing suits. I was going to change my whole image. I don't know what I was thinking, but you know.
You're gonna go the Tony Bennett route?
I don't know. I really don't know what I was thinking. I just know that I was buying suits and nice shoes and stuff. And when I got, and the good part is that Eddie and Alex and Mike saved me, because when I walked into their studio, and these guys were like bums, and beer bottles and cigarette butts, and it was the filthiest, most rock and roll thing. You know, guys, Eddie comes out of bed fell asleep with his clothes on, got up and went right back to work with the same clothes. And I just went, man, these guys are the real deal.
I can do this.
Fell into the program. Part of it.
So, and you know, we could spend the rest of this time and 5 more times talking about.
We've been around too long.
Yes, your experience in Van Halen. Suffice it to say, it was a remarkable run. And setting aside, you know, the way it ended and all that stuff, which is well known to people at this point. Creatively, how did that experience change you? What changed in you after having done that?
Well, I think I saw rock and roll fame and stardom on the highest level. You know, we were probably biggest band in the world, top 3 biggest bands in the world. And, you know, we made so much money and had all that success and fame. And I saw how drugs and alcohol abuse can take anyone down. And I saw that what I really learned was that when you have the freedom to have anything you want, whenever you want it, that's when you gotta really be careful. And that's what I got out of the whole thing, other than great music.
Yes.
And I love those guys still. I wish we could be friends, but unfortunately we can't. I don't know why, but we just can't seem to, just some kind of a rub. It's really weird. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Because Mike and I don't have it. But Ed and Al, they can fight like cats and dogs. You get in and try to break it up, you end up getting a fight with one of them and say, hey man, I'm just trying to get you guys separated, you know. So they're really tight, you know, they're very close, and hard to break that through. But I can say that I really learned that that's when you need control the most, you know, is when you have the opportunity to have anything you want, whenever you want it. That's when you gotta say, oh, gotta be careful.
Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
And
one of the things you did, when Michael Anthony got fired from the band, you invited him into your band.
of course, he's the best bass player, background singer on the planet, number 1, and number 2, he's my buddy. Mike's available?
Yeah. Done. So since you left Van Halen, you did a reunion tour with them. You've made 12 albums of your own since then. Opened, by the way, a string of bars and restaurants. Successfully started and then sold a tequila company. Hello. And now started a rum company, which I think you've been sampling here. Not to mention a radio and TV show. So why do I bring that all up? There's a work ethic that you have, which is remarkable. Where does that come from?
I have no idea. I love to work. I love it. I mean, first of all, I'm not doing manual labor.
Right.
I mean,
You're
the
not
hardest thing I
taking
do
pictures.
is get on stage and work out for 2 hours. And it probably is half the reason why I'm still pretty healthy for my age, because of the exercise that I've gotten my whole life. But honestly, I don't know what drives me. I like helping people. I like keeping my fans happy, and I love success. And I don't mean like an agreed fashion. I love what success allows me to do for myself, my family, and other people. Friends, family, fans. That's it. Sammy's big 3.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, fair warning, I'm going to ask for a couple questions from the audience.
Absolutely.
Here in 1 second. You've said one of the great quotes I read of yours talking about your career is that you've done everything backwards. Yeah, kind of. How so?
Well, Well, I go from a solo artist to a band. That's the first thing, right? I mean, it's like I was in a band, then I'm a solo artist. I had a successful solo career. When I first really made it as a solo artist with VOA and 3 platinum albums in a row and headlining 2 nights in every arena in America, blah, 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 I joined a band. It's like, even David Geffen said, what are you doing? He said, are you crazy, baby? We worked for 5 years with you, getting you where you are, and now you're going to
Join this band.
Yeah, join a band. I'm going, yeah, it's kind of different. So that, and I don't study anything. Like when I do my TV show, I don't do any research. You know, my wife Kari, she's like one of the people wants to do all the research and give me all this stuff. Oh, you know, he was born in such. Don't tell me anything. I don't want to know nothing I don't know already about this guy. I want to walk in there. No research. You've done your research.
Yeah. I'm taking notes on this now.
Yeah, but I want to go in there completely stupid with an opening question, and I want to ask that question and take it from there. And it's just the way I like to do things. I really like to be on the edge, and I don't want to rehearse, and I don't want to be too good, and I don't want to practice, and I don't know. It's not because I'm lazy. We all know I'm not lazy, but I just kind of like winging it, and I like being on the edge and making myself nervous and just
living in the moment.
Yeah, well, the closest I can. Yeah.
So we got time for 1 or 2 questions from the house. Yes, this person is having a fit here.
I have to write it down so I...
Unbelievable! You wrote this down?
Hi, Sammy.
Hi, how you doing? I know you. I know how.
It's an 8.5 by 11 sheet. Are we?
It's not a question, it's a statement that I want to say, so I'm going to be a little nervous here.
Okay. Come on, Eileen.
My glasses.
Do you know this person?
Of course.
You know this person.
Eileen's
Okay.
been to how many shows? 350, 400?
Okay. All right.
I was in Florida last week, I think this is...
Okay. So read the manifesto. Here we go.
Okay, I just want to say, Sammy, thank you. Thank you for being in the best rock and roll band ever, Van Halen. Thank you for the Wild Rose, the Circle, and Chicken Foot. Thank you for making 2 hours of my life each night a show in the moment where I forget about everything in my world that goes on. Thank you for giving me a natural high every time I see you. Thank you for putting joy into my life when I listen to the music, and sometimes I can never get it loud enough. Thank you for putting people in my life that I would have never met because of you, such as Karen and Pam. Thank you for always taking the moment to take a picture or to say hi. And thank you for giving Dave and I, my husband, a reason to travel and to be together to see him. I just want to say thank you.
Wow.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Now you see why I will never quit.
Yeah, exactly. Trust me, I don't get that. So, right here.
You have so many great songs, you know, from Montrose and Van Halen, the solo stuff, and you have stuff people probably expect to hear every night. What are your favorite things to play live?
Well, the song Can't Hang,
That's a good
of the
one.
new songs.
Yeah.
Any of the new songs, of course, are fresh. But I don't think I've ever sang right now without feeling it really hard. And, gee, it's really, Eagles Fly. Every time I sing that, I get emotional. It's like, I can't believe I still get emotional singing that song.
Amazing.
There's so many good ones. I wish I could sing Dreams in the same register that it would send, but I don't know how I did that. And I don't know how I did it for years in Van Halen, but now we turned it way down and we do it in a softer thing, but always, that song always touches me. You know, I like to sing things that I feel, that when I wrote it, I felt the same thing. And 20 years later, 10 years later, when I can sing that song and still go back to that moment, that's a very nice connection emotionally for me and for any writer, I'm sure.
Yes, right there.
What are your big plans in 2020? What band's coming out?
2020. What's up? What's up for 2020?
Believe it or not, I'm going to do a 40-city tour.
Woo!
I haven't done this in a long time. This year we made a record and I was told you got to go out and support it. I don't like to go away and tour, but I love to play shows. So the way we do it with the Circle, we play a couple shows a month.
We'll be there.
Yeah,
That
there it
works.
is. So we play a couple shows a
That
month,
works.
but I'm going to do 40 cities. I'm going to do a real tour next year again, and I'm doubling from what I did this year. And I decided that I got to do this while I still can. You know what I mean? It's like there's going to be a day I wake up and go, I can't do this no more. Not because I don't want to in my heart, but because my knees, my back, my voice, something's going to say nope, and that's inevitable for everyone. But so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to.
Awesome. In the back.
Thank you for that, sure.
Hey Sammy, quick question. It's been so difficult to get into your birthday bash. It's so popular. Just
Hook us
wondering
up.
if everybody in here can get a ticket to next
Woo!
year.
That was the best question.
There's a guy with the entrepreneurial spirit.
The Cabo Wall was just, I could get 200 more than this in there, so, we might be able to work something. No, I'm sorry about that. I've tried to do a big show on the streets. I tried to do a big show on the beach. Mexico is so crazy. It's like the first thing they do is they go, how much you gonna pay us? No, I want to do it for free. You don't understand. So, I love the
Yeah.
Cabo Wabba shows, so it's
There
like,
you go.
yeah.
Yes, sir, right here.
Oh, Mr. Hagar.
Yes, sir.
Long time listener, first time question. Touch on something that you didn't touch on here, which shaped my musical love for your music, which is HSAS.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Through the Fire came out, blew me away. When I watched the concert on MTV, why wasn't the songs that were in the concert on the album, Since You Came, Hope and Fear, those songs?
This is a gentleman who has studied up.
I'm making trouble here, but I did rip those and put them on.
Don't.
I really don't know why. I think it was probably a timing thing on the record. Like you can only get so much music on there. Until we're live, it was all new songs, right? When we toured, so we had to play an hour and a half of new music, and it was hard to get that back then. I think it probably wasn't DVDs. We were looking at records and cassettes. But that's the only reason why I can think of that. But I forgot about those songs. Well, Without Fear.
They may show up in a set list later. Yes, sir, in the back. Yes, you're.
Hi, so I'm a little nervous.
Me too.
Thank you, sir, for being here. And my wife and I, we subscribe to Velma, your sister. She's really cute. Her Bible, she does like a Facebook, YouTube, right? YouTube, Facebook. Anyway, we know you said that you don't want to, die with any issues with Eddie, and you're a peaceful guy. Is there any are you a spiritual man? Would you consider yourself?
Spiritual. Would you consider yourself spiritual?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I'm not a religious, go to church and that kind of thing, but I think it's a great thing. People who go to church, my sister's extremely religious. Like she's always trying to save me. I said, I'm okay. I'm okay, Velma. But no, I believe in God.
That might take some time. We got time for one more. Yes, way in the back. Yes, sir.
Would you ever consider playing in Huntington Beach again? I had tickets right. It was right out in front of my house.
That was my favorite. I thought that was going to go on for years. That was my way of doing a birthday bash. Right before the birthday was always going to be the Huntington Beach party, but the promoter I was involved with didn't pay the city and they wouldn't give a permit. Which I don't know why he didn't do it. It's like I want to break the guy's neck, but that's a whole other story. Yeah, he made a lot of people's lives miserable, including mine, for a day.
So my last question, and this was something that I'm always amazed about when I hear about your shows and I read about your shows. You have a unique commitment to philanthropy and charity. You have your own foundation, and all of your shows have a philanthropic component. Why is that important to you?
Well, I grew up poor, and without going into too many details, if it wasn't for food banks, which they weren't food banks when I was growing up, but my mother, for Christmas and for Thanksgiving, I had my single mom raised 4 kids, and I was the youngest of 4 kids, and so she'd go get a turkey or a ham, and from the unions, from the steel mill in the town there, they'd have unions, they'd give food away, and we did it, and it was so great for the whole family to say, wow, man, you know, we're going to really have a great meal tonight. It wasn't like we were starving, but we were definitely poor. And so I just thought the main thing, I just remember the joy we would get from free food, man. As kids, we go, whoa, look at this, you know. And so I just want to feed people. I think the basic thing you can do is feed people. So that's so I give to a food bank in every city I play for 9 years, 10 years now. Every city I play, I write a check to the food bank. And I go down to the food banks, and when you see families like my family was, like we weren't homeless, we were just kind of having a hard time making ends meet, my mom. And so when you see the families at these food banks that are same position, and I talked to them, I was having one of the guys a gardener and his wife's a maid, and he goes, you know, when my truck needs tires and we can't afford to see the tires for the truck or food and so we come down here at least once a month and we get food. And I think, man, that's it right there. You know, that put the nails in me. And so I just believe it's really a lot of bang for the buck. And I'm also really a big fan of local. You know, like in other words, I would love to feed every child in Africa. I wish I could, but I don't live in Africa. So I just think I live in a town where I can help. So I just try to help as many people as I can in my environment. So when I go play a concert, I don't just take the check, I leave something behind it. So that's my philosophy.
Fantastic. We are so pleased that you took the time to come down here and do this. The record is called Space Between. It's fantastic. We want to hear a little music. Give it up for Sammy Hagar.